everyone, welcome to the Lipstick Gang. I'm Vanessa and I'm joined today by the lovely Alanna Deutrom. Sorry, I messed that up. Alanna Deutrom. She is an artist, she's a creative, she's the host of Coach Music Podcast, she's the founder of Coach Music Academy based out in Melbourne. Hi Alanna, how's it going?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited to chat with you. It always seems a little bit weird connecting with someone online. And then I think, as you mentioned beforehand, it's weird that your first interaction with someone is then also being recorded. It's a little bit surreal, but it's so lovely to actually see your face now and not just have it being words on a screen.
It's so true. And it's actually really special, the connections that you can make online. Sometimes you just underestimate it. And then all of a sudden I'm talking to you and you're on the other side of the world. And I feel like I kind of know you now.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? The power of the internet and technology nowadays to bring people together. But you are a fellow podcaster. That is not how I originally got connected with you, which we will get into. But first things first, how about I actually give you the platform to introduce yourself? So, Alanna, tell us, who are you? What do you do? What's your life story?
Okay, who am I? Well, I guess for majority of my life, I would have said that I'm a singer. And I've been singing since I was 7, and it's been a really big part of my story and my career and my focus. And then coming into my early to mid 20s, I really started taking my singing teaching seriously. So I've been a vocal coach now for, I believe it's like 11 years.
Wow.
So I started when I was 17. So it was like my first job, and then I never lost it. And now I run my own music school with my partner, Angus. And that's our main thing. So I'm here in our studio. We restored a factory here in Melbourne, and we do really cool singing lessons from here. We do events, and well, last year we had to go completely online with all of our classes, but that's like my full-time gig. And now I also have Grounded Minds, which is my affirmation cards, which was a COVID-born project. But I guess it's really hard, isn't it, when you say, who are you? And automatically we always jump to what our career is. And I guess I am, as a person, someone who's positive. I always like to smile, and I am really, really passionate about helping people live on their purpose and do things that they're passionate about. And my singing teaching has really helped that passion evolve for me. And then now doing affirmation cards and working with people on self-development, it's just such a passion for me. So that's a really fun project, and that's like helps me share my learnings, because I'm pretty addicted to listening to podcasts and reading books and just continuing to grow.
Oh, I love that. And it's so interesting what you said just now. It's a very interesting observation about how our automatic first thing to do when someone says, tell me about you, is to define ourselves by our careers or by the things that we do. And it's so interesting you say that, because I spoke to a guest recently and we had this whole part of the conversation literally about that, about especially women. It seems to be a real trait of women that we really want to define ourselves by what it is that we do, like the tangible results of our actions as well. But by the sounds of it, you have really turned your passions and your interests into your career, which is fantastic. So you're based in Melbourne. Are you from there originally?
Yes, so I am, if anyone's familiar with Melbourne, I'm from the Mornington Peninsula. So I'm just in Victoria, kind of along the coast. So I live right near the beach, and yeah, I love it. It's home. But I did spend a lot of time in London growing up. I was signed to a production company over there. So I used to go back and forth. And yeah, I miss it. I'd love to come back.
Oh, if only we could travel these days.
I know, wouldn't that be nice? That'd be awesome. But
What's
we
that
will.
like? I've forgotten completely.
I know. We'll never ever take it for granted though. Like when we get on a plane and we feel safe and we're traveling around the world, like there was a time when this wasn't even possible. So that
I
will be
know.
very great. Look
Yes,
forward to it.
absolutely. Oh, I can't wait. But it's wonderful to hear that you spent so much time in London, and I did my research on you beforehand a little bit, and it seems like you are very well traveled, and especially for such when you were a lot younger as well, your career and your singing songwriting really took you around the world. You've visited and you've been in some really amazing places, some real sort of meccas of music as well, haven't you?
Sure. Yeah. I spent a lot of time in Nashville and London. So that, I know it feels like a lifetime ago now. It feels like I always say it was like I'm Hannah Montana and that was my other life. Like, what was that time? It's nuts. But I think that it actually made me realize that sometimes when opportunities appear in your life, it's really important just to jump into them if they feel good and see where it takes you. Because for all of those little nudges or that little voice in my mind that's been like, give this a go. Like, it's never been bad. It's always surprised me in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to just like roll with it, right? Life will just come at you and opportunities will sort of present themselves and you just have to kind of take the leap, I guess.
Yeah.
Which actually segues quite nicely into one of the main reasons why we connected, which was Grounded Minds, which is your most recent passion project, your most recent creative baby. Can you tell me a little bit about Grounded Minds?
It's, oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'll tell you how it started because sometimes it feels like I don't even know how it started. I think that I've always been quite a spiritual person. I'm always been into self-development. I love, reading and listening to people like Oprah or Deepak Chopra or, Eckhart Tolle. Like, I'm so into all of those things, but I think last year we went into a really strict lockdown here in Melbourne. We were actually locked down for basically 8 months. So we couldn't leave. We were restricted to our 5 kilometer radius. And looking back now, I'm so grateful that we did that time. But it was hard. Except it was also this beautiful time for everyone to go inward. And I don't know, you realize that your energy was just your energy and you kind of just started exploring different things that maybe you had put off or there wasn't time to do when life is so busy. And I think for myself, like I really honed in on journaling last year, and journaling really catapulted Grounded Minds because I was just writing every day and it was just super therapeutic for me, and it helped me just to process my thoughts. And I don't know, we hear it a lot. You should journal, like write down how you feel in the morning, like write your gratitude. And sometimes there's that little skeptic inside of us that's like, oh, I don't have time to do that. Like, is it really going to make an impact for me? And if anyone is listening and they haven't tried it, I would just encourage you to do like a 30-day journaling challenge and just start off by writing what you're grateful for the day, and then see what starts to appear from there. And I guess as well, I had a lot more time to read. And so I was just like writing things I was learning or things that were inspiring me. And so I'd write my gratitude, and then all of a sudden I'd write like 3 or 4 pages of just words. And one day I was sitting there and I was like, oh, I guess I'll read some of my journal back because I think that's what you're supposed to do. I just hadn't for months. And I was reading it and I was like, oh, some of these are like, they're quite nice. Like I like what I've written here. Like, this is cool. And I remember sending one of them to my friend. I think it was the presence card, and it was like just talking about how the space between your thoughts, that's what we have to notice, and we can try to be present throughout our whole day. And I sent it to her and she's like, this is really nice. I was like, is it? Like, I don't know. Is it nice? I was like, I kind of like it. So I started kind of highlighting the ones that I liked, and they had just been written in my journal, and thoughts and things that I'd said to myself. And, I try to structure my journaling sometimes too. So I do like gratitude, then I do affirmations, and yeah. And then I randomly started drawing, and it was just a creative thing. I started trying to do 1-line drawings. I think I just followed people that had given it a go, and I was like, I think I could do that. And then all of a sudden I had created so many illustrations, and then I literally got like a big marker and I've drawn them on paper and then scanned them in and then colorized them on the computer. And my partner Angus was like, this is actually really good. And so I just kind of put the pictures with the words and teed them up together. And I have never experienced this, and I think there's a part of me that doesn't know if it's truly a thing, but I'm going to say I feel like I channeled the cards. I just don't know how they came out of me, and it was really, really quick process. It was like I was in this amazing creative flow, and then Angus said, I want to print them for you. And so he found a printer, he printed them for me, and we received them, and I was like, oh, I love them so much. They're so sweet. And then I had all of these moments of doubt because I hadn't really had affirmation cards that had something on both sides. I had only really seen them where they had one side was all the same, and then you kind of by chance picked a card out, and I was like, oh, I don't know if you're allowed to do that. Is there a rule? Like, what's the rule? And then all of my friends who I shared it with were like, there is no rule. Like,
You
it
make
is
your
what it
own
is.
rules.
You make your own rules. And I was like, and really, this is what's freely came out of me. So, and I felt this overwhelming feeling that somehow I had channeled these cards, they'd been sent to me, and I needed to share them. And I believe that because I'm someone who isn't afraid to jump into things and share and just give it a go, I think that, yeah, wherever they came from, they knew that I would share them with everybody. So it's been really fun. And ever since sharing, I've had such a positive response and just had beautiful messages from people and been a part of their morning routine, and hopefully just encouraging that first initial, I'm going to write, like for me, I'm going to write my journal, and then that might layer my morning into doing my yoga, doing my meditation, like doing my self-care practice. And hopefully that impacts other people too. Because sometimes when you start your morning and you just say, I'm going to do one thing, all of a sudden you start to look forward to that one thing, and then you add another thing, and then you add another thing, and then all of a sudden you've got this really beautiful morning that can set you up to have a great day.
Oh, I totally believe in that. And I absolutely love this whole story. I love how it all just kind of came together. And I love what you say about it felt like a really quick process for you because, and I don't know about you, but maybe as someone who works in the creative field, sometimes forcing creativity just never works, right? You can't force it. It has to come from somewhere deep within you, and it has to come from a place of good intentions. And I think if you're trying to force it, it's almost like a square peg and round hole situation. It doesn't always quite fit. But then when you do find something that really does fit, it is really amazing. And I think really amazing to like the human tenacity and human creativity that things can start like clicking into place so quickly, which is just so wonderful to hear. And so yes, I mean, I guess if we rewind a little bit, so we connected through social media because I randomly got served or came across one of your posts on my Instagram feed for the Lipstick Gang's podcast Instagram account. And I gotta say, they really just they stood out to me straight away. Not only because the illustrations are simplistic but beautiful in their simplicity, and really like, and again, you. I don't know if you're like me. You're just like, oh, please stop. But genuinely, like, they really resonated, and then more so the fact that you do have the affirmations on the one side, and then you have the kind of I guess the illustration on the other side with maybe like a title or something. And I love that. And it really reminded me of, I guess, kind of like tarot cards, but in an artistic way. And just, I love them. And hence why I then bought a deck, which
Thank you
amazingly
so
arrived.
much.
But they arrived today. How amazing is that? The universe just
Unreal.
being shipped from Melbourne all the way to London during a pandemic, and they arrived the day that we were scheduled to speak. I mean, I just think that's the universe working in amazing ways.
Absolutely. I believe that so much because really, like, what are the odds?
I know, it's crazy. So in terms of I guess let's take a step back in terms of this sort of more illustrative style or like the illustrations. So you said that you didn't really draw before. Is that really?
I think that I would definitely say I'm creative in different ways. I've always had a passion for graphic design. My mum is an artist and she's a phenomenal artist. I can't compare to her. She's amazing. But I grew up in a really creative family atmosphere in terms of my mum was, she worked as a graphic designer and then she's actually a fine artist as well. Wow. So I definitely admire her artwork and look up to her in that respect. And when I started just playing around during COVID, she was so excited and she's like, you got to do this. And like, this is what you can do. And like, this is the pens you can use, or just those little tips. So that was really, really nice. But I guess I wouldn't say I drew, but I think that my friends would say that I'd always make them birthday cards, or, I always make things like my 21st birthday. I remember I said to my friends one day, I was like, I'm going to make a tree and everyone can hang like all of my well wishes on the tree with leaves. And they were like, really? Okay. And then the next day I just got all this cardboard and made this really cool tree. Like, I don't know, like my mind kind of just jumps to things, and then I'll just create it because I want to see it in the flesh. So but with drawing these, I I feel like they, in a way, they were like, I feel like, sorry, you know how sometimes you just have like negative thoughts that come into your mind, or fear that comes into your mind, and it's like you're trying to combat them all, and you wish that you just had something that could just shoo them all away, and sometimes one of them can get you, and then they're like, I got you, like I'm gonna stay there and really eat away, and like you don't know what's gonna fight that one off. And in a way, it's like the cards are all of those little, hopefully the positive people in your mind that can kind of start shooing them off, or just allow you to accept where you are right now, and that it's okay if you feel a certain way, because even though they're called happy thoughts, like some of the cards have a little bit more of like a deeper meaning, or hopefully they bring clarity, or they're not necessarily like I am feeling this today. Sometimes they're more like mantras, or they're just those thoughts, or like that advice from a friend that you wish was always there in the back of your head. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting you say that not every single card is all sunshine, because actually one of the ones that really spoke to me today, obviously I received them, so I had to just like dive deep into them and just look at and read every single one like 3 times. But my favorite one, I actually did pick it out here. It's this one, the Stormy Seas one.
Yes.
And I love that. And I will read the affirmation. So it's, today I choose to let the waves crash. Instead of tossing in the ocean, I will observe from the shore. It's not my responsibility what the wind does from now on, which I love. And I love it because, and I think it really speaks to me. Maybe it is just today, and I'm sure tomorrow I'll pick a different one. But I love that because it's really grounding, and it really acknowledges that we're all human, and we acknowledge that we will have these thoughts and we'll have these things that happen that we can't control, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad, but we can acknowledge and we can observe, and what we then choose to do with it afterwards is kind of, that's our responsibility, and just and kind of sitting back, which I really I really love. And yeah, that was one of my favorite ones from today anyway that I picked
that is
up.
Actually, it makes me cry. No, I'm so emotional, but no, it's actually, it's really crazy that you chose that card, because a lot of people have asked me, do I know the faces that I drew? And I don't. I just started drawing faces. I don't know. Like, I don't know where they came from. But that card is really important to me because it's my nanny who, and it just appeared to her. And I feel like she's just around me all the time. And it's really cool. I think right now I'm like, oh, where, like, I can just feel her. And it's just so crazy that you pulled that card out.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, that gives me chills as well. But I mean, well, hey, listen, it really spoke to me. And I think, I mean, like a lot of your cards and all of your cards, I think they will speak to people in different ways. And I think that's the beauty of them, right? And the intention is that they're supposed to speak to different people in different ways at different times of their lives, and what they need from life, or kind of what they need from those cards will kind of, I guess, present themselves. But in terms of the creative process for you, how did you choose the affirmations that you chose? Because you said you had pages and pages and pages of all these, the journaling that you'd done, the gratitude journaling, and mantras and affirmations that you've written down. How did you narrow it down to these 42 quotes?
Well, I guess some of them spoke to me. There were definitely ones that I'd highlighted, and then some of them, like, I did drawings, and I looked at the drawing, and I kind of wrote around the drawing too. So not every single one was just pulled from my journal, but it. I remember doing. I think I did 24, and Angus was like, I think you should do 42. Yeah. Okay. So then I just started making more of them. So there was seriously no planning, no like storyboarding or anything out, or do I want to get this message across? It was honestly just word vomit, and what do I feel calls to me, and what actually wants to be on the card. And it's weird because I still pull them out now, and I'm like, oh my God, this really is exactly what I needed to hear today. And I don't know how to explain it. I feel like there was absolutely no structure to it at all, which is probably so bad, but it was just, these words needed to be on these cards, and that was all. That's actually it.
It was organized chaos.
Chosen.
It was organized chaos by divine intervention. It
was divine intervention. I feel like I need to have like a much more structured answer for you, but honestly, it was just this really fun, creative flow. And I know a lot of people listening might understand that flow. I'm sure you do as well, you
Yeah.
know, when you just get so into something and you just love it, and time is not even an option, just kind of flies away from you. And I think from this whole project and from really tuning into myself and writing and being as creative as possible, it actually made me realize that creativity is not just something that that comes to you when you least expect it. Obviously this came unexpectedly, but it's also something that you can use, you can have every single day. I
Mm,
really, really believe that we all are creative in our own way.
yeah.
And if we do something like journaling, or we do something that's going to unlock that flow, then you'll start to kind of open up this whole new channel where you can tune into it and you can actually be creative whenever you want. And that brings so much joy.
Absolutely. And I completely disagree with people who say, oh, I'm not creative. And I'm really into at the moment of, I spoke to a guest recently and we were talking about sort of just those negative thoughts and how you allow them space in your brain and they will take up a home there. They will squat in your brain and they will not let you
Yeah.
leave. And you kind of have to undo a lot of those negative thinkings and negative thoughts. And one of them is telling yourself, oh, I'm not naturally gifted at this, or I'm not naturally
Mm.
good at that. And I think that, granted, yes, with some things, maybe, maybe people are naturally, okay, singing, songwriting, music, I think obviously you need to have a natural talent for that. You have to be naturally gifted in that sense. However, people who say, oh well, I can't write or I can't draw, and I was very much one of those people. I always used to say, well, I can't draw, because I didn't think that my idea of drawing or art fit into fine art or
Mm.
fit into what you see in a
Yes.
museum. So I
Yeah.
assumed that I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And then it's when you kind of unlock that, it allows you to just see the world in such a different way, and see your time as well and how you use your time in such a different way.
For sure.
In terms of the journaling side of things, so was that something that you took up specifically during COVID, or had you been practicing journaling beforehand?
I journaled all the way through my younger years. But it was predominantly using that journaling towards songwriting.
Of course.
So I was writing a lot of songs, and that was really fun. And I have some really cool old journals that my mum's kept for me, and they're like scrapbooks, and I put inspiration in them and got so into them. But it's definitely something I lost from, starting your work and not making that time to journal. And sometimes there's that part of you that thinks, oh, I'm not a teenage girl who journals. And I, and honestly, if anyone gets anything out of this conversation, it's to just pick up a pen and go buy a book and start journaling. And if you like, I've been getting Angus, my partner, to journal as well, because guys can journal too, and
Yes.
he's absolutely loved the experience, but he struggles to handwrite it. So he prefers to type it out. And so it's just whatever works for you, whatever is the best way that you flow. But I would definitely recommend it. I can't speak more highly of it. So yeah, definitely journal.
I totally agree. I did start journaling last year, on the advice of my therapist at the time, which actually did wonders for me. She's,
Yeah.
someone that did cognitive behavioral therapy, and yet she was saying, here, just try this. It's a really simple
Yeah.
tool. It doesn't have to be this big light bulb, moment of a breakthrough or anything. It's just
Mm-hmm.
just try it. And I did try
Yeah.
it, and I set myself the challenge, 7 days. Let's see if I can just keep with it. 7 days, make it a
Mm-hmm.
routine, make it a habit. And it did catch on, and I did start seeing a lot more positivity and a lot more appreciation, I think, for the little things. And I noticed things more, and I felt a lot more grateful for the things that I already had, as opposed to feeling bad for what was not happening in my life. That being said, I have not journaled for a while. I've
You
really
have
stuck.
to.
I know.
Yeah, and you know what? You can't be hard on yourself when life gets busy and you don't find that time. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, trying to, for me, I've got like, because I work night times and during the day, so I'll usually start at about 10:30, and then I might finish here at about 9. So, like, I don't have any other time to do my self care other than in the morning. So it's like
Mm,
my precious time, and I have grown to love it so much, and I really look forward to it. And it's like what I say to all of my students: if you're going to practice anything, just choose the same time every day. And
mm.
even if you do it for 2 minutes, that is better than nothing, because then you just start to get into this routine. It's like when you eat, like, why do I eat at this time? Like, it's just this routine that starts to happen. So if you're wanting to get back into the swing of things, try 21 days, or try at least a month.
Yeah, I will give it a go again. I think you're right. I think it's at different times you do channel your energies in different ways.
Yeah.
But I completely agree that I got a lot of really good positive introspection out of journaling. And I
Yeah.
definitely think that it's something that everyone should try at least, yeah, like you said, for 21 days or a month.
Yeah.
In terms
I
of,
have a book. I have a book. Sorry, sorry, sorry. I have to
oh
share this. I
no,
have a
tell
book
me.
recommend a book recommendation. It is called The Artist's Way. Have you read it
I
before,
have not, but I'm
Melissa?
going to make a note of
Yeah,
it.
it's by Julia Cameron, and I had been, I think, like 6 months into my journaling, loving it. But I started reading this book, and her philosophy, she calls it her morning pages, and she said that that's like the foundation of opening up your creativity again. And she talks through the process of writing and like how it can open up that for you that feeling of gratitude, and you start to be more aware of things that are around you. And then there's also this darker side to it where you start to go, oh my God, like what are these thoughts that I'm having? Or now I'm this, or you start to doubt yourself. And she really like talks you through it. It's like a step-by-step process, and you're supposed to do it with her. But it was just so interesting to know that, I don't know, you're not alone, or like when you lose that motivation, you're not
Mm.
alone, or when, you're feeling a bit down, like just writing it out on the paper first to give you that clarity. And it helps you when you might be in a moment in your life where you want to react to something, but then you've been kind of practicing every day to process how you feel before you react. So it's a beautiful book, and it's all about how everybody is creative, which we were just talking about before. And I would definitely recommend to put it on your list.
Oh, absolutely. That sounds great. That is definitely one of my resolutions for this year is to try and at least read more. I mean, it's my resolution probably every single year as well.
Yes.
But
It always is, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, and then we always come up with the same excuse. Oh, I ran out of time. Work's so busy. I just, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting with this whole pandemic and with lockdown, just to kind of circle back and I guess bring it all together again, is that you were talking about before in terms of this project sort of grown out of that and you were reading more, is I've connected with so many people who lockdown just seems to have opened up so many purposeful projects and so many hobbies
Yes.
that people didn't even think that they could have done previously, whether
Yeah.
it's even just baking bread, cooking,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
drawing on the side. Like it's been
Yeah.
really wonderful to see. I mean, as someone who is creative, I guess, do you feel the same way when you look on social media or you look online and you just see people doing stuff as well?
Oh, 100%. And a lot of my friends are having like career changes from just having that time at home going, well, what do I actually want to do? Because I've been just
Mm.
living on the surface for so long, and now I've started to dig deeper, and I need more. Or like, this isn't actually how I want my life to feel. I've had a moment to breathe and realize that. So, and I've had friends who've started, like one of my friends started baking through COVID. And so she started just making cupcakes, and she makes the best cupcakes ever.
Oh,
So yeah, so I think that there's been a lot of sparks of creativity. And I think it might also be that feeling of we just don't know what's going to happen next. And we don't know
mm,
how long we have. And we have this big, mighty plan for our life, but life has a big, mighty plan for us. So if we don't act on those urges that we have now, then what if we never get the chance to? And we sit back and look back and regret that we didn't jump in. And I don't think it means for everybody that they have to make this big grand gesture and live out the passion career. Like maybe it's just making time for the passion on the side of having a career that they also love. But I think, yeah, I really, really believe that what we do and loving our job it shouldn't be a privilege.
mm.
It should be something that we all get to experience.
Yeah, it's definitely something that not a lot of people enjoy, or certainly I guess maybe previously jobs and careers and career paths, they weren't necessarily seen as something that you're gonna love. It's something that pays the bills. It's something that
Yeah.
gets you from A to B, as opposed to I guess a career path that really you get something out of, you get fulfillment out of, and you get something that kind of feeds you in other ways that's not just financial. And it's really interesting seeing that shift over the years, I think, with people, the way in which they approach their careers and the way they approach and now I guess also the way they approach the free time that they have, or the time that, in their day where they maybe previously weren't using it to its full potential, which I think is also something that for me, I just, one of my pet peeves is just seeing that wasted potential or wasted time. And not to say that you can't just veg out on the sofa and watch Netflix. Of course you can. We've all done that. You know, lockdown, you don't have to be doing something every single minute of every single day. But I think what's really interesting is that I think, like you said, a lot of people have really used this time to realize, oh wow, I have this time back to me, right? Because I'm working from home, or maybe some people have been put on furlough, so they have time to look at how they're spending their time. And I love what you say about sort of not putting life on pause, and you know, you're making all these great plans for life, and life will have those plans for you just the same. And I think that's what's been really important for me, is looking at this time as like, oh no, if I waste this time, God knows how long we're going to be in this situation for. Why would I waste a year of my life waiting to go back outside again to live my life? I can make my life what I want it, even if it is in these four walls with my one form of exercise a day. Like, you know, that's fine. That's still doing something. But for you guys,
how are you going over in London? Like, how is it feeling over there?
it's, you know, it's strange, and I think everyone in the world can relate to this concept of the passage of time during COVID is a very weird construct. I think time in general is just a very interesting construct anyway, of how you perceive it. COVID has really made it very strange because it goes by so quickly, but when you're in it, it also goes by incredibly slowly as well.
Yeah,
And you suddenly realize you've blinked an eye and 2 months have gone and you haven't actually spoken to someone, for example, and you don't realize, you think, no, I spoke to them last week. No, that was 2 months ago. But then when you're there day to day, it's just, the time is just dripping by. So yeah, it's not easy.
No. And when it got to Christmas, actually, for us, it's like, how is it Christmas? It still feels like it's March. I'm so confused.
Yeah, well, I mean, so my sister is based in Melbourne, so I knew all about how strict you guys had it for so long. And I had a few colleagues who were working out there as well, doing the London hours, which must have been hellish for him. So yeah, she had it pretty tough as well, because obviously my nieces didn't have school. The girls want to go outside, they want to go see their friends. Obviously they can't. They want to go out and exercise, go for a run or go to the playground. They can't do that either, and it was really, really hard for them. How did you find it? I guess with work, you were saying most things went virtual, so that's good at least.
Very fortunate. I think that was what played a really big toll in my gratitude. We have businesses around us who are gyms or mechanics, and they can't function online. So we're very lucky. We made the most of it. It wasn't all easy, but I think we found the bright side, and also got to continue being a part of my students' lives, and you know, being a part of their week that they got to look forward to, and they didn't have any other activities to do.
That's so important as well, and I do want to pick your brain and find out more about your business as well. But if we just finish off on the affirmation cards, do you have any favorites? Do you have any favorite cards of your own?
I don't know. Do I have a favorite card? That's so mean. There's so many.
It's like asking which child is your favorite.
I think I love when I get the reminder of never forget when friends succeed. It is a blessing, because I think that there'd be moments in my life, like growing up, when, you know, jealousy played a role in, you know, this person sings better than me or this. It's like nothing, you can't compare anyone to anyone. And especially when you see someone you love, or your friends, or even people on social media, like when you see them succeed, we need to celebrate that. And then we just keep cultivating more of that energy for ourselves. And it feels good to spread love. So that's definitely one of my favorite cards, but I don't know if I can choose a favorite. I think it just depends on the day and how I'm feeling. So,
which is the objective of the cards as well.
You're right. You are right.
And in terms of so it's grown. It's grown in such a short period of time, that your project that is now a business as well, because you are shipping internationally and sending cards to all corners of the earth. So do you have any amazing stories or people who've gotten in contact who have bought and are using your affirmation cards, you know, to better their own routines?
Oh my gosh. No, like we've had a lot of people from Canada who have purchased our cards, which is pretty cool, because, you know, in Australia we always think about Canadians as the happiest people ever. So I thought that was quite fitting. But I don't know if there's any like drastic, crazy stories, but I think just like the beautiful day-to-day messages that we'll get, or I actually have, I started just doing custom illustrations for my friends, or like of some of the influencers that we sent the decks out to, and they really loved them. And then I started, putting words on them about that person. So if it was like one of my friends, it was like that they're compassionate and they sprinkle joy everywhere. And that's been a really, really special part of what I've done, because I've just started to appreciate everybody's uniqueness. And for me, that's been just, not that I never did that before. I feel like I always have loved that and noticing the goodness in everybody. But yeah, when you're actually looking at someone's face, and then I've been illustrating them and putting some words to how people will send me through like what they answer to my questions, like what their star sign is or what their passions are, and 3 words that would describe themselves, or what they love the most about themselves, and hearing those things and then drawing them and putting that together has been really cool. So yeah, doing the custom illustrations has been great, and surprising people with those and not telling them, and they've received them. And I made one for one of my friends, and he's said he's got it professionally framed and he's put it in his wardrobe, so that every day he knows that he has beautiful friends around him. I was like, oh, that's just so cool. So it's really just the little things. But yeah, I think when we first launched and noticing that a lot of the people that were purchasing, I had no idea who they were, that was crazy for me, because a lot of the time whenever you start something, it's just your friends and your family, and they're like, go you, like I want to support you. But when we had so many people who were just looking and seeing, and they wanted to be a part of what I was creating, that was amazing.
Yeah, that must have been so exciting, starting to see those orders come in and the interest come in, and seeing your social media grow and the following and the community that you're building as well. That must have been such an exciting feeling.
It is, and it's still exciting. Like every day I'm like, oh my God, like who's following us today? Like, and or like people sharing on their stories. Like no one has to do that. And when people share that, the card that they got for the day, or they share when they receive our package, that's really cool.
Well, the packaging is beautiful. The cards come in this gorgeous box. You've designed all of it, and I've seen that you have specific branded packaging as well for the Australia packages and parcels that you send out. They're all branded, yes, which are beautiful. Obviously, the international ones didn't get that love. No, I'm just kidding.
You might not have got it, because we just launched the new packaging. So Angus designed it, and he was really excited. So we've got these little mailers, and he got them custom made. And so we honestly only started shipping them out last week using the mailers. And
yeah, they're gorgeous.
They're so cool. I'll have to send you whenever I do my next thing, I'll send you one in a new package. And yeah, they're actually really special. I don't even know how to describe them. They're all colorful, and they say you manifested mail on the front, and just like a fun way to open something. So when you receive it, you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited, like from the first moment you see it. So like we're really obsessed with creating experiences around all of the things that we do. So even when you come to coach, like we hope that people like walk in and it smells nice, and the music's on, and the lighting is good, and even when you receive a package in the mail, like you want to, from the moment you get it, you want to feel excited to open it.
Absolutely. It's a gift, right? It's a gift physically that you either are given, or someone has got it for you, or you give it to yourself. But then what you've packaged within that box is a gift that you're giving to these people as well, because it's 42 cards, 42 gifts in a box, which is great. I think it's wonderful what you guys have tapped into, and I think this really speaks to perhaps our generation of business owners and founders, especially when you work in a product-based business where everything is so interconnected, and the detail in that branding is so important. And I feel like that is something that is so often overlooked by a lot of maybe older generations, and a lot of other brands. There's not as much care put into that, and I totally get what you're saying about you want the whole thing to be an experience that people take away really positively from.
Yeah,
So
make
yeah,
it
I think
fun.
listen, I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing. But you were saying, so you and Angus work really closely then in all aspects of life by the sounds of it. You guys founded the Coach Academy together. You now work on Grounded Minds together. Is there anything you do apart?
Well, he's not here right now, so I podcast separately. Um, yeah, I don't know. We've always just been a really good little team, and Angus really makes create so much space for me to be creative, and then he'll kind of help with that extra push of like the business side of things or the strategies. He's very big on strategy, and I'm just kind of like flying around like, I want to do this and I want to do that, and he's like, that one's a good idea. Like I think last night I had some idea, and he's like, not right now. And I was like, I
Yeah.
know. There's too many things going on, but yeah, we do work really closely, but it's really nice to share what we do. And I think we'd have, this has naturally happened, but one of my friends yesterday, she said, it's like Grounded Minds is like a family business. And I was like, it is a family business. I was like, Coach is like our little family business. We have a Labradoodle Rupert here, and there's a doggy door into my studio for him. And like, we just want to live a creative and fun life, and, have our days on our terms. And if we need to, we need to go for a walk a little bit longer in the morning, then we have that freedom to do it. So that's part of the mission, but that doesn't come without sacrifice. Like there's things that we've had to sacrifice to be able to work together and to build this amazing dream together, but it's so worth it. So yeah, we're very lucky to have each other, and I think we complement each other very well.
It sounds like you do. And also, it goes without saying that there's a hell of a lot of hard work that goes into it as well. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people very easily fall into the soundbite that you get, or the flash that you see on social media, and everyone assumes that things are easy. And I think perhaps that's
Mm-hmm.
maybe a bit of the culture that we've all kind of grown up with, I guess, with social media and the
Yeah.
internet age, where all you're seeing is a snapshot of life, of time. But it sounds like you guys have a really good partnership going, which is great, and leads very nicely onto, I want to find out more about Coach Academy. So you've had quite the creative career so far, but also specifically musically. You mentioned that you sort of started really young. When you were 7, you started singing and writing, and doing all of the musical endeavors that people only really dream of. Can you tell me a little bit about your musical background? So your mum is an artist. Is your dad a musician? Is there anyone else in your family that's in music?
No, I think my granddad used to sing, but no one else really. I don't know how it happened. It just kind of was a thing, and I started singing, and I was really encouraged to do so. And I I wrote a song. I don't know if you are familiar with Delta Goodrum, but
Yes, love her.
yes, love Delta. Well, when I was 12, she got diagnosed with cancer, and I wrote this song for her. And it's pretty cute. If you go back, I have a little squeaky voice, and I'm singing "Don't Give Up," and it's pretty funny. But I ended up like winning a big competition, and I met her, and then that kind of I think in life, if we just have like little achievement after little achievement, it can really build our confidence to step into bigger opportunities and bigger achievements, and like to fearlessly try things out. And I think that from a young age, I've always had that opportunity. Is so privileged to try knocking on different doors. And so that happened for me. And then we have a magazine in Australia called Girlfriend Magazine, which was like Dolly, like teen magazine,
Mm.
had the sealed section, all of that. And I won the Girlfriend Girl of the Year when I was 14.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that kind of like it's a really cool journey. And then I got to write a little article in the magazine every single month for a year, which was really
Wow.
cool. And then I ended up being just like picked up by this producer who works over in London, and he came to Melbourne, and I sang to him, and he's like, let's make an album, back in the day when you made albums. And so I went to the UK, and I was 16, almost 17, and I was going back and forth and kind of like juggling school and creating a record, which is amazing. And yeah, then just so many amazing things happened. Like I just started, I guess I spent a lot of time with adults when I was over there, so it made me grow up pretty fast. And
Mm.
I did like red carpet events, and it it was like opening that first door to, oh my God, maybe I'll be famous. But then there's also this other side of when you're so young and like being in that scene, in that industry. I had a lot of body image issues. I remember one of the turning points for me was we recorded a song and I had to go home and come back and record this video clip, and there's going to be so many people there and it was dancers, and I was told to lose weight. And that
How old were you when
really,
that happened?
I was about 16, 17.
Gosh,
So I
still
was
so
pretty young.
young. Yeah.
So young. And you know what? Maybe he didn't mean it the way that it came across, but it really hit me. And so I went on like this crazy diet and I lost like 5 kilos, but for me, like that 5 kilos was really, really small. And I remember going back and everyone was praising me, like, wow, you look great. Like, you look so good. And yeah, that really sent me on a pretty like bad journey with my body image, with my mental health, with feeling like I was good enough, with, just disordered eating and all of the things that a lot of teenage girls go through. But I think I kind of had to put on the face at the front that I was okay and I was on stage and I was singing. But then, oh, well, maybe this is why I'm not making it, or maybe this is why this, I'm not getting this big record deal because I don't look a certain way. So there's so many things that kind of play such a big role in your mind when you're that age. And the culture that we are building collectively now, from what I'm exposed to online, is so much more accepting of body image. And there's a lot of women now who are stepping out and talking about, that you're allowed to be whatever shape you are and you're allowed to look a certain way. And I think that that's really cool. And I noticed that with my students, whereas when I was growing up, it was, you have to be skinny, like skinny is good. Whereas now I feel like there's a big move towards being fit, being healthy, feeling good, mindset, yoga, meditation, and some of those things. But yeah, it took me a really, really long time to heal that for myself. And I ended up leaving the contract that I had over in London. I was embarrassed by the video shoot that they'd made me do. I had to sing in a bathtub, and
Oh
it
gosh.
was, yeah, it just wasn't me. And yeah, and then I kind of started my own journey with singing. But then I always kind of felt like there was this resistance or this hold there, like I couldn't get to the next stage. And it really bothered me because I'd been, holding on to this idea of who I was for so long. So I'm supposed
Yeah.
to be this big singer, and then what am I now? What is my identity? Am I allowed to do anything else other than this? So yeah, it was a really, really big journey. And there's so many amazing moments, but so many close calls with fame that make me just not want to be famous. Like, no, or just, I think if my daughter or my child was of an age like that, I think that, not that my parents did anything wrong, they did everything amazingly, but just that self-awareness of, just setting them up so that they're ready to jump into something like that. So when I have students who come in and want to do reality TV shows, which we've had a few and some of them have been successful, but for me, it's not about, yeah, like vocally we're ready, but mentally are we ready? And for me, that's even more important, because I would hate to be a part of encouraging someone to do something before they're mentally and emotionally like ready to take on something like that, because it is being in front of people so vulnerably. It's a lot. It's a really, really big thing.
Yeah, which is really interesting because that's in a field where you shouldn't really be judged on anything except your talent and your skills.
Yeah.
However, we know that that's not the case. We know that with, especially the commercialization of music, certainly, I guess maybe more so back then, maybe slightly less so now, from what you were saying. It's really interesting, isn't it, that you can hone your skills and you can really hone your craft, but you could be completely torn down for simply the way your hair looks or the way your skin is or the way your body looks, and it can completely discount any talent that you actually have, which is insane. It's crazy, and I can't even imagine what that sort of constant referral to your physical appearance, even though you know you're killing it and you're doing so well in terms of your talent and your skills in songwriting and singing, to be consistently told that you're not fitting a certain image of what we want, especially as a teenager. I can't even imagine how difficult and how challenging that must have been for you, and especially away from home as well. So were you in London on your own, or did you have family over here with you?
No, my mum would come with me. Some of the trips, like mum and my dad would come, which was really nice.
That's
But I
good.
have another sister, so she was back home. She's a bit older than me, but yeah. So they were there, and I remember when I was filming that shoot, my mum and my dad were there, and they weren't allowed in, and they were really uncomfortable with that. And so there was just like some things that were not done well. But I'm sure for myself that was only the cusp of what some other young people have had to go through that you don't even hear about. And I think that it's also that self-love and that moment of knowing that you're allowed to say no, because they're there for you. And you know, like, you need to kind of go, well, actually, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And just understanding what sort of, if it's creative within music or if it's creative with anything else, it's like knowing yourself enough and knowing your craft, whatever it is, enough to go, no, this is my boundary and this is what feels right for me. Because whenever there's that part of you that just, it doesn't feel right, like, trust it. It doesn't feel right. So yeah, it was really interesting. And I think, you know, I wouldn't have been able to talk about this a few years ago. Like, it would have made me really emotional still.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of at this point, and I'll catch myself looking in the mirror and I'll be like, I love myself, like trying to like say those things out loud to me, because they do really help. But yeah, so I see some of my little students, and when they come in, like, they start to turn 13, 14, and they start looking at themselves in the mirror differently. Like, we have big studio mirrors here for helping our technique. It's all a part of what we do. But when they do that, I'm always like, oh, you look so beautiful in the mirror. Like, look at you. Like, just trying to reinforce that positive self-image, because, oh my gosh, it can be so detrimental to how you feel about yourself and how you carry yourself, and, you know, knowing who you are. It's just so important. So yeah, in a way, kind of ties back to affirmations. But yeah,
it all, I mean, I think it all comes from within you, right? So you're drawing on your own experiences, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, and I think you're channeling a lot of that energy into everything you do, which is obviously to help people. It's obviously to be there to coach others, to help them, to give them positivity, to give them love, and give them the love that they should be giving themselves, which is a wonderful gift. And I think that what you say about boundary setting is so important, especially nowadays. I think especially for young people, and young women, young girls, it's something that certainly from when I was growing up, it wasn't necessarily something that I was actively taught, not in a sort of say yes to everything kind of way. Obviously, my parents were very strict and wonderful role models. However, there's still an element of, in a work environment perhaps, of saying yes, and just saying yes because that's how you'll get ahead, and allowing people to take advantage of your time, and allowing people to take advantage of your nature. And I think that unfortunately a lot of us have had to learn through negative experiences to realize, no, actually, I am worth this, and I can say no to that.
Yeah. And I know, like, sometimes you look back and when you're going through being a teenager and all those transitions in our life, like from teen to, am I an adult now? Like, there's so much change that happens. And when we look back, we go, did I actually realize that this is how I was feeling? And like, sometimes I don't know if you do, like, you just like, this is just how I am. And like, I have some students who've been going through some really dark times, and we've sat there together, and I've been like, do you want to feel better right now? And interestingly, like, sometimes they say no. And it's interesting because it's like, sometimes we find comfort in the darkness, and we feel comfortable in feeling a certain way, and that's okay too. But it's kind of realizing that everything is impermanent, and, you know, we work through it and we'll get to the next part. So
yeah, well, I mean, hey, that's like when you go through a breakup and you listen to sad songs.
Yeah,
You just kind of
like,
need to wallow in
sad.
it. Yeah, exactly.
You need to feel it all completely, and then we can move on. So
yeah, just don't get lost in it. Don't drown in it. Just, you know, acknowledge it, move on.
Yes, for sure. Oh,
So
goodness.
you launched the Coach Music Academy back in 2017, I think I saw on your website.
Yes.
Was it a light bulb moment for you when you realized, yes, this is the time I need to start a coaching academy for young musicians? What was that moment like? What was that process like for you?
So I had been teaching for various music schools for years and I loved it so much and just felt so connected and tied to my students. Like if I had to leave, I was like, oh, well, like I just need to make sure I'm there for them. I'm so super duper passionate about it. But yeah, launching my own school was just because not in an arrogant way, but I was like, I feel like I can do this better. Like I feel like I just one thing for me that's really important is I don't want to create a sense of competition when
Mm.
we're singing. And I know that there's competition in life and we can all feel that, but I just wanted to create a community of people who just encouraged everyone to sing. I really believe that everyone to their own capacity can sing and should sing.
Mm.
It's a sacred thing that we all love to do, even if we do it secretly. And it's something that we need to feel like we can share. And I actually have a lot of students who maybe just gravitate towards me because they know I'm passionate about this. But a lot of the time, I'm not only helping like people to start a career or write songs or sing when they're a little bit younger, but I have a lot of students who come to me in their 40s to their 60s, and they're like, I have a voice block. I can't speak my truth.
Oh,
And
wow.
we sing through that as well. And it's this beautiful moment of like feeling okay to be loud and feeling
Mm.
okay to use our voice and open up. And that for me is some of the most special moments because I can certainly say, and my students wouldn't even mind me saying it, like sometimes they'd come in, I've been like, okay, like we have a lot of work to do because building that the foundations and the tone and feeling like we've got no constraints, like it can take a really long time. But if we have that, we're a bit more realistic and we realize why we're here to do what we do, then we start to feel this really beautiful, like not only technical growth, but spiritual growth within people too, because we don't realize how powerful our voice is. And hopefully for you, like starting this podcast, you've found this and discovered this whole other part of yourself because you're like speaking and then you might listen to yourself back and go, oh, I actually speak really well. And I have a beautiful speaking voice and I listen back. And yeah, I find that when we start to open up our voice more, like hopefully we can speak our truth more in a moment, or we can feel more comfortable to speak freely instead of, just keeping everything locked inside. So there's so many different parts to the journey of singing, and I think I just love it so much. But yeah, we started it for many reasons, but a lot of them is to just help people find their voice.
Oh, I love that. That's so, so powerful. So, do you get a real range of students that come into the academy then?
Oh my gosh, yes. We like a lot of our students are probably from about 13 to like maybe 40,
Hmm.
but then we have other students who are well into like their 60s, 65, and then they come in. And we used to have a choir that we did for women, and it was so beautiful getting them all to sing together. So yeah, we have a big range of people, and it keeps it interesting for us too because you're not doing the same lesson over and over. You're not training the same type of person. Like everyone is so different.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I can imagine that physiologically there must be a lot of differences with coaching someone or teaching them the techniques when they are a teenager, or a young person compared to someone who is later on in life. There must be some
Yes.
physiological differences that require different techniques, right?
Absolutely. Like when we're younger, sometimes it's a little bit easier to mold, can follow direction and catch on to things, and learning rhythm or learning pitch doesn't
Mm.
feel as difficult. Whereas as people start to get older, you kind of get into your own routines, your muscle memory is set. It's like, I am here, this is what I do. And challenging that it can be exhausting for people too. So just trying to like have perseverance and like I said earlier, it's like having those little wins. So we might just focus on something really small, but when we get it, we celebrate it, and then we can move on to the next thing.
Oh, I love the thing about the little wins, though. There's a little mantra that I always say to myself as well, which is, focus on the step, not the whole staircase. Which I
Yes.
just, it just gives me such grounding moments of clarity and really helps me hone in my focus. So I think that, yeah, I love that as well. I think that's wonderful, and certainly such a great way to teach people as well, because if you give them a whole curriculum or you give them the whole syllabus, they're just going to freak out. Whereas if you say, no, we're going to one lesson at a time, one step at a time, it's all good. We got this.
We can do it.
We can do it, exactly. And through the Academy, you also created the Coach Music podcast. You're also a podcaster. So many things. So many things. So what is your podcast about? I mean, clearly it's about music. So can you tell me a little bit more about why did you decide to create a podcast and what kind of guests you have on?
Yeah, so I can't even remember when we started the podcast. You might know. I think it was 2019. We started just reaching out to friends who had their music career, and I just started to inspire my students, because the more that you listen to conversations and you talk to people, the more you realize that everyone is just a human and there's nothing in particular that is special. It's just the hard work or the consistency or something that they've done that maybe you haven't thought to do. So it's just like inspiring conversations that hopefully spark some sort of motivation in my students, and now obviously people all around the world, which is really cool. But we've just been growing it, and we've been releasing episodes every Monday. We won't start until probably end of Feb this year, and then we'll go till the end of the year. Nice. But it's just really cool. Even for me, like, I continue learning and growing as a teacher because I'm having all these conversations with people. And last year we got some really big Australian artists that I got to interview, like and I'm not sure if Kate Sobrano is famous over in London, but she's like an Australian icon here.
The name sounds familiar. The name does sound familiar.
Yeah, so I was so excited. So that was a massive interview for me. And one of my favorite episodes, if anyone wants to go check it out, was with Rob Mills, who...
Yes, I listened to that episode.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that was great.
I love that episode so much. So, so just connecting with people. But the reason we started it was really just to inspire our students and give them as much as we could for free, because why not? And and then it's kind of just spiraled into its whole other little journey. And I've met some really great people. And like I said to you before, you start conversations with someone that you would have never have had a conversation with, and you have this big, deep and meaningful conversation. And in a way, it makes you appreciate asking questions so much more, and like really getting to know everyone, because when you're at a party, sometimes you'll just have that surface conversation and then you'll part ways. And really asking people the right things is so interesting, and you never know what you'll learn. So yeah, I've loved it.
That's so true. And it's definitely been a learning curve for me doing this whole process as well, of going down these rabbit holes that you just never really thought was going to lead anywhere. And then suddenly you're in Wonderland, and it's just giving you all this amazing insights and all these amazing stories, and building these wonderful memories with, again, people that you never would have connected with previously, which is, I guess, why we keep doing it, right? It's why we sort of continue and we persevere and we keep going forward. Do you have you obviously mentioned a few guests that you were really excited to speak to last year. In terms of musicians, do you have any artists that you're currently listening to that you're absolutely loving? Any musicians that you would say someone, you need to listen to them, you need to see what they're about?
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, I think one of the duos that I interviewed last year, they're called Winterborn, and I am obsessed with them. The conversation was so funny. We had the best combo, and I was like, we are now best friends. But I genuinely love their music, and it's so funny because my Spotify wrap up of the year was your number one song, it was Winterborn, number two was Winterborn, it was the whole thing, because I just listened to them over and over again, and I swear that they were a part of me making my affirmation cards too, because there's always music that I'm playing in the background. But another artist I really love is Maggie Rogers. I believe she's Australian as well. And then things that I listen to just at home, I just listen to Sound Bath all the time. I don't know if you listen to that when you're at home. I feel like I'm in a retreat, and it's amazing.
Love that.
It's so beautiful and super meditative. So I always usually have that playing in the background. It's just kind of sets your energies and I don't know, it just feels really good. It does something. So I'll usually journal or do something creative, and I'll have sound bath or something that doesn't have lyrics going on in the background, because I
I'm
just need to
exactly the same.
process. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I get really caught up in the lyrics, and I'm like, oh my god, what are these words? I need no lyrics.
Oh, I'm exactly the same. I have to listen to. I usually just put on like classical music. I have like so many classical
Beautiful.
playlists flying around all over my Spotify. Yeah, and I'm exactly the same. If I'm, especially if I'm writing, because then suddenly you
Mm-hmm.
realize you look back at your writing and you've essentially written down what someone was singing in your ear. You're like, where did that come from? Where did those words
Yeah.
come from? And then you realize, oh right, yeah, no, I was listening to it.
Yeah, you're like, I just wrote an affirmation card and it's the lyrics to a Winterborn song. They'll
Yeah.
never know. Like, no. Don't worry, Winterborn, I didn't steal any of your lyrics, I promise. But yeah, love them so much, and loved their episode I did with them. They're really funny.
Oh, amazing. I'm definitely going to check them out and have a listen to them as well. But Australia and Melbourne in particular just seems to have such an amazing creative feel to the place. I mean, Melbourne in particular, I feel has that. Well, I mean, there's the coffee culture, maybe less so now with COVID, but previously in normal times, it's the coffee shop culture. It's very creative. You've got so many amazing art galleries and museums, and just really creative people doing really creative things. Do you think that that's really helped you tap into more of your own creativity, being surrounded by that?
Oh, for sure. To be honest, haven't been to the city for a really long time because of COVID. We're allowed to now, like we can travel, and I think we've got our numbers down really well. I'm very proud of Melbourne. Fingers crossed. But yeah, growing up here, like walking down the alleyways, there's so much creativity. But to be honest, it's like a mini version of London, and I
Yeah,
think
but
that
you
you would
guys have
probably be
better
able to
weather.
enjoy. Yeah. Well, yes, we definitely don't get as cold. Um, but I think so. I think, and I've grown up around creatives, and yeah, there's definitely a creative culture here in Melbourne, but it's weird. I've grown up here, so I wouldn't know the difference, I guess.
Yeah, I feel you. It's weird when you're so close to something and then someone points it out to you, and
Yeah.
it's kind of you almost have to disconnect yourself to be able to see it
Yeah.
from their side of things and see it from their
I
perspective
guess
as well.
we're really lucky. I love being along the coast. Like I think that people
Mm.
have their place in nature that they love, and like I love being at the beach. I walk on the beach even in winter. Like every day I'm like just walking down the beach. It's amazing, and like put my feet in the ocean, and that's how we came up with Grounded Minds, because it was this really process of staying grounded through a time when everything felt so up in the air. And yeah, so I'm definitely very, very lucky to have such amazing beaches around where I live, and yeah, down the whole of the peninsula. And then of course then you go into Melbourne, and it's a contrast with creativity. But yeah, I think wherever you are in the world, you can find your own creativity wherever you go.
That's true. Manifest your own little oases as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So you obviously have your hands in so many different projects, so many different things, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I would love to tap your brain a little bit more. How do you stay so present and not get too overwhelmed with just so many things happening in your life and so many responsibilities and businesses and projects going on?
So many things. I think we can go back to the word boundaries. That was my word last year before COVID started. And then the boundaries literally were very, very strong. So, yeah, but I'm just someone who will often give my time, or like give, and not that I don't receive. I feel like when you give, you do receive. But I think that sometimes I've just, worked to the point of being so exhausted, and
Mm.
not turning my phone off. And yeah, so I have two phones now. I have my work phone, and then I have my life phone, and that has been an amazing boundary setting for myself, because I on the weekend can have a weekend. And I actually have realized that people message, because like when you have your own business and you're taking we're service based, so you're taking inquiries, people message you when they have the time in their mind to think about it. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily expect you to reply straight away. So that has been a really big, amazing step for me, and I think just gave me a lot of time. And then definitely my morning routines, doing, even if you don't have as much time as I do in the morning, like doing something that sets you up for the day, really,
So
really,
what
really
does your
helps.
morning routine look like?
So my morning routine is, well, the first thing we do is we wake up, and Angus and I will try and fill our brain with some sort of learning. At the moment, we've just been focusing on manifesting because this year we really want to be more intentional about some of the goals that we want to achieve. So that's been what we've been working on to start 2021, which has been really fun. But usually we've been reading a book, and we read a book to each other. And I learnt this from Tim Ferriss interviewing Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman said that him and Deb, his partner, when they wake up in the morning, they have a cup of tea and they have a book and they read it out loud, and they kind of share that reading out loud process with each other. And I was like, Angus, I want to do this. Let's give it a go. And we have loved it so much, and we've read so many more books because we've set aside this, 30 to 45 minutes of we read and we learn, and then we'll go for a walk and talk about that learning. And it's really nice. Or you might even be halfway through the book and it sparks something, and then you have this conversation that you might not have ever had. So that's really been an extra thing that we've layered on to our mornings. I talk a lot about layering with my students and with everyone who wants to listen, because the more one thing you start, you kind of start to layer more onto it. But yeah, then we go for a walk. If we feel like we want to splurge, we might get a chai latte, see how we go. And then we usually come back and do a meditation. I'll do my yoga practice, and then I have headphones that I can take in the shower, and I usually will listen to a podcast and have a shower, and then I will get ready for my day, and then I'll head to our studio and start working.
Wow. There's definitely something to be said for really setting yourself up for success with a really good start to the morning and a really good routine. That's something that I'm learning, and I'm trying to hone down a little bit better and give myself more time in the morning. But you sound like you've nailed it.
But it honestly just started with a walk. I was like, I need to just go for my walk every day. And that might be the thing. And it might be something else. It might be, I just want to read for 15 minutes a day. And then you really start to look forward to it. Like sometimes I get to 8 o'clock and I'm like, oh my God, I get to wake up. This is exciting. And then obviously Angus and I do pull a card every single day. And we, it's really funny. We're like, this is so relevant today. So that's definitely been another layer that we've added in.
Well, I'm hoping that Grounded Minds becomes more of other people's morning routines as well. It certainly will become one of mine as well.
Yes, I hope so. I can't wait. Yes, well, I don't know if you saw my little hack, but I'm really stoked about it. One of my friends did it, and she just keeps the card in the box. No one will see it if they're listening, but how cool.
That is awesome.
I saw it on my Insta. So we do that at home. We just have it sitting up, and then we look at it and go, oh, I'm going to bloom my heart out today. That is my mission.
Oh, what a wonderful way to remind yourself. It's just great. You can just look across from your desk and you'll just see it right there. I'm definitely going to do that. You're going to see more things on Instagram of me tagging you. So I apologize in advance for totally taking over your Instagram feed.
No, please do. It's so exciting. I do a happy dance every time I see a tag. I'm like, oh my God, someone's using them.
And in terms of the future for Grounded Minds, I mean, not too far in the future, but certainly let's talk sort of 2021. What is your dream? Sort of what are you most excited about for 2021, specifically for Grounded Minds? What's your plans?
I think I just want to keep building a community of people who love what we're creating and what we're doing. And I've started creating a new deck, which I am very excited about. It's all about manifesting. So I can't wait for that. I honestly don't know. I always have a million bazillion ideas, but also at the same time, I just want to stay present with it, enjoy the moment right now, and then just kind of flow with it and see where it takes me.
Wonderful. No need to put any pressure on. You just kind of, let life come at you.
That's it. There's no need for pressure. It's just, it is what it is. And I think so far it's been good.
Oh, well, I wish you all the best for 2021. Honestly, I do really believe in sort of certain people and certain things finding their way to you at certain times. And this is just one of those really happy coincidences that has just led to this wonderful conversation and meeting you in person over the screen. But
feels like person now, doesn't it? We're so used to it.
Yeah, exactly. This is just so normal. When we finally go outside, we'll be like, oh my gosh, you're in 4D. What is this?
So true.
But finally, I do ask this of all of my guests. I probably should have prepped you in advance, but why not? Let's just wing it. I do ask all my guests because it is the lipstick gang. Do you have a particular favorite lipstick color, shade, or a lipstick that you use, a brand maybe?
Okay, look, I am so bad with like makeup and branding of anything. I'm like, that'll do, that's good. But I do love color lipstick. It's like lipstick and shoes. If they're both statements, I think that that's really fun. I love like bright red or like a hot pink. That'll just tip it off. It's the best.
Love it. A little splash of color.
Splash of color. I know, back in the day when I went through my rock star phase, I used to wear purple lipstick.
There is nothing wrong with purple lipstick. I love a
I
fuchsia
rocked,
lipstick.
I rocked it, and some of the girls in my cards actually have purple lipsticks. And I'm like, oh, they would bring the purple lipstick back. Why not?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely still have a couple of shades of purple in my vanity. So yeah, definitely. Let's bring the fuchsia back.
So cool. Yes. I know. Well, now I'm inspired. You've given me the A-OK, so
Yes, absolutely. You got the okay from me.
Love it.
Alanna, thank you so much for your time today. And, if people want to find out more about Coach Music, or if they want to buy a deck of Grounded Minds, where can they find you? What are all your handles?
All the handles. Well, maybe the best place to start is just at Grounded Minds on Instagram. And I'm sure that you can find your way from there. You can find me, and then you can find Coach, or you can even just Spotify, look us up, the Coach Music Podcast. But yeah, thank you so much for having me today. You're onto something really special, and it's really lovely to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's definitely a wonderful next step when you start moving beyond the people that you already know and you start interviewing and speaking to people you don't, like this, and making connections. It just feels like something really like sort of bottling magic in a way, which is wonderful. So thank you so much for being a part of it.
Thank you. We'll keep it up. I'm excited to listen back.
Oh, amazing. And thank you everyone for listening.